Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, and as usual, you are now watching the 3Cs live with myself, Emma Kirk, and Sarah Williamson. And today we are joined by the fabulous Thomas, is his Sunday name, Kaye. And we're going to shorten it to Tom today, just to make it feel a little friendlier. We've talked a lot about people going into hospitals and the sort of different operations and appointments that they're having. Tom, I know quite a lot about your history because we've had many conversations before, and obviously I've actually played rugby with you and on opposition to you, which is amazing. We'll come to that a little bit later, but Sarah, would you like to ask any questions to get some history from Tom?
Yeah, I'd love to, Tom. I went through the Leeds Rhinos Active Beyond Cancer Recovery Programme, did quite a bit of work with Richie Myler. So I soon became a fan of the Rhinos. And great pleasure to have you today. So I know from a young age, I had major bowel surgery. My bowel surgery happened when I was 45. I really struggled with what had been called IBS for what seemed like 30 odd years. And I eventually got a private consultation and got the results I needed. And I wasn't prepared for that major surgery. So what I'd like to understand really, Tom, is what kind of led to your surgery and how did you manage that?
Round about when I was like, by all accounts, I had symptoms as early child, according to my mum. But round about, I think they were sort of major. They sort of got out of control when I was around about 9 to 11. So they initially tried fixing it with a high dose of steroids for like 16 months, which unfortunately didn't work, which resorted for me to have a surgery. But I think I was sort of on the opposite end of the scale. I sort of was dealt with quite quickly. When the symptoms started becoming worse, I was taken to the GP. Within a sort of number of weeks, I had a camera and I was booked in for surgery quite quick, which was major surgery. Unfortunately, because of my age, I couldn't have. As an adult, you can have these sort of things done and reversed quite quickly. But because of my young age, I had to have it done over three surgeries. So I initially had the bowel removed at 11. So that was a big surgery. By all accounts, it was around about 16 hours. I had most of my large colon removed. And that left me with ileostomy for 4 years. I had surgery in between that to create a pouch, which was my issue until a number of years ago. And that was it. Tough period, really. I think from Emma sort of knows part of my story from past. I was like yourself, found it really difficult to deal with. It was. So I was sort of playing rugby then. Some sort of when you start of. I sort of had a dream of playing rugby with family, brothers, etc., things like that. And unfortunately, then I was given the advice not to play. So everything from being rugby mad to sort of being sat still, should we say? So it was sort of a tough lesson in life, really, where I had to go and say.
That was isolating, Tom, because it's you've had your dream taken away. So your family history is rugby as well, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's a harsh right because you've got to live as much as you want to continue with normal life, or life can continue as normal. You've also got to make some adapt it a little bit as well. Because unfortunately, there's always a worst case scenario. Accidents happen. Your weight loss can drop dramatically overnight. Potential risks from worst case scenarios. it's so much sort of can sort of weigh on the back of your mind, which is difficult to deal with if you haven't got the right support, really, which is good nowadays because I feel because of the lack of social media and things like that. Back when I had it, I really struggled. Not through finding channels, not getting support, which led to some difficult times. That's the best is politely to describe them.
I'm thinking back to when I had surgery, and I know there's so many reasons why people have can be things like cancer, Crohn's, colitis, things like bile acid malabsorption. Mine has been quite really bad reflux, and it was projectile and hiatus hernia. So literally, I had my tummy relifted to this side and a new valve created. And that presented with further problems, having problems with my liver, backup of bile acid, which meant I had real toiletry issues. And I think the hardest thing for me is that there was no one to talk to about issues that you talk about behind closed doors. As a nation, we don't really talk about toilet habits, do we?
No, it's one of our, it's a taboo subject, where it's little things like living with a colostomy bag, where it's there's a little bit of stigma to it, where you look perfectly fine visibly to somebody anyway, without sort of having to take your shirt off or physically show it off. So if you go, I've not used it, but I did used to have one when I didn't have a bag on, where I need to go card, things like that. So, and if you sort of present them, it's like, oh, what's this? What's that for? And it's they're not going to, instead of them sort of automatically sort of having a sympathetic view on it, questions are asked, things like that, really. Which, as mentally strong as whoever may be, I think I consider myself strong mentally, but I still have bad days. It gets to you. It does think 1 minute. It makes you feel a bit lesser as a person.
I think for me, what I find is this inadequacy and the lack of public facilities for people with, well, let's just call ourselves ostomates. People can't see what goes on. I remember being at a concert at First Direct Arena, and there was a queue of people.
Apologies, sorry.
And I remember showing my toilet card and someone actually saying to me, "You haven't got a disability." And I didn't know how to handle that.
Go in the room, you Baba. Sorry. Go get one then, Baba. Sorry. Go on, sorry.
All right. I found myself having to explain, and people just didn't get it. And they started to argue over the fact that I shouldn't be with you. I think back to going and having security say to me, "What's on your shirt? Something's showing up." And I requested to go to a private room rather than be questioned there. And my travel, the Colostomy UK Association, which explained that member of staff.
Well, funnily enough, I had the same experience. I went to go see that one, Baba. Sorry.
Yeah, the biscuits.
So I had a similar experience, really, where the disabled toilets at the at First Direct are quite close to the ladies, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I went to go see Mickey Flanagan at First Direct, and I physically went in and I was getting eyeballed. I had a key, luckily, but I was getting eyeballs to the nines because I've gone in there with a key. Physically, Emma's sort of seen me. I'm 6'2", an average build, so I've sort of got it's straight away like, what's he going there for? When they're all queuing up to go to the toilet, and I just walk in, wandering up and just open the door and I'm in.
One other thing I sort of, when I spoke to you before, Tom, you know, you are very open and honest about your situation and the experiences that you've had. You're also very honest about the depression that went alongside that. I think for me, people like yourself are extremely important as ambassadors. But how have you managed that as you know, how have you got over those depressive dark days and become the person you are? Because you are very positive now about it, and I think that's a tremendous accolade to yourself. But I just wondered how you'd kind of manage that.
I think there's a bit of self-examination got to be done. I think the support needed, definitely. But you've also got to have a long hard look at yourself and think, right, it's not over. And one of the things I've always lived off is there's always someone worse off. Without going into the ins and outs of how I know that and how I understand that, is from experience I've had in the past, it's what I've got is nothing. Someone will give their right arm to be in my place or my shoes, but still, it's a position what you're not envious of. You've got to look after yourself, because if you don't, there's some quite serious consequences. So I think it's taking a sort of a leadership role and going out there, and it physically took me to sort of take that big step and say, right, I can still do this, I can still do that. And then my confidence just went from ground zero to back to its best again. And as an adult, you've also got to show a bit of leadership to the younger generation, because when a lot of the things I've said to Emma in the past is, it's about, for me, what I do is, it's about what I do with Team Colostomy, is stopping someone else doing what I did when I had my first colostomy bag, because I didn't look after myself as well as I should, didn't manage it. But if I can give my story to improve someone's situation or give them some advice, it stops that it's worth telling or it's worth listening to.
It stops that cycle, doesn't it, of happening? Because you
exactly,
can help someone else. I know Team Colostomy have got some quite young mascots, haven't they?
Yeah, some incredibly young mascots, and it's as much as they probably it's about them. I know they have times. It's little things where young age where it's like going to the pool, and people not understanding that and why that young child has got that, or why are they in the pool with that. It's a lot of it's unfortunately because of what the world is today. It's not going to be fixed overnight. You still get more negative looks, things like that than you should. But also these people understand that.
Well, this really hits home for me because I used to train with Team GB water hockey team. I absolutely loved. I would go 3 times a week. And when I got back, that's the first thing I got. And I still get nervous about swimming. I've only ever swum in a private pool with someone that I feel safe with, because being in a public place, I always feel conscious. And I know now what is really good, like Colostomy UK, that swim with back, feel comfortable. More of that hopefully.
I think when you're in an environment with friends, family support, it's you feel comfortable. I know there's calendars and things like that, and there's I can't remember the name, but there's a calendar with a lot of ladies who have physically had shots, lingerie shots with their bags out, things like that, where it just breeds confidence. But unfortunately, it's one of those things like in real life where there is a bit of a lingering devil on your shoulder. So my bag's at my right hand side, and there's sometimes where it can just go up like a balloon. And as strong as I am, I'm still like, right, where's the toilet? Where's this? And instead of proceeding with whatever you're doing, you straight away sort of retract to a negative position, thinking, right, I need to get this fixed, or I don't want this on show, which is I think it's something that will be with a lot of people. It's about someone being able to sort of give you a coping mechanism or something that makes you, right, okay, this has happened, this is what I've got to do. Don't worry about it till then.
Tom, can I ask you then, so Sarah said about going to a public bath and feeling about having, did you find, I mean, when you went back to playing rugby, were you nervous about going in the changing room? Because I know rugby changing rooms, everyone just takes the clothes off, don't they? It's just one of those things. And are you conscious about that?
She's okay. Go wipe it. Sorry, kids are being first aid trained now. Apologies. So yes, she's it's no, not really, Emma. Getting straight to the point. I'm quite, unfortunately, it's something I've got for the rest of my life. So I can't physically, as much as I am conscious of it, I'm strong enough to say, right, I've got it. It's got to come out. Simple. And if I wouldn't believe that, right, I put myself in the right situation, so I wouldn't, like the PDRL. There's lots of people with lots of issues, etc. in there where some people are body conscious, but you've also got to bite the bullet, in my opinion, where, right, let's go. And you just, and for me, but also I think it's a generational thing also. I think like when I went to school, yeah, after PE you had to have a shower without your kit on. Long story short, as simple as it sounds. And I know like a lot of nowadays when I stopped playing football, there were a lot of the younger lads, they didn't either shower or they showered with the boxers on and things like that. Where I think unfortunately being body conscious is a generational thing. Because of how it's portrayed in the media, bullying, things like that, really, which it isn't helpful. It sort of does add to that little bit of stigma with the stoma.
Just conscious. I don't know if you heard of the story, Tom. There was in the news about a patient in Barnsley who has major bowel issues and felt that they didn't want to live if they're to have a bag.
I have seen it.
Yeah, that really, really upset me personally, because I thought when I was a consultant and having conversations about quality of life, I was thinking, God, how am I going to live with it? And it was a big fear, but I thought, you know what, if this is the only choice I've got to go with it. And whilst I respect that choice, I also think there needs to be a lot talking out about what is good about having a stoma and a bag. I look at Paul Anderson. I mean, he's been a great mentor in sport and talking about what it's like to have a bag. Did you have enough role models around you to be able to deal with it better, do you think?
No, not in the first instance, being completely honest with you.
Yeah.
There was, at that age when I had it, there was no Facebook, Twitter, things like that. So I didn't want to go through support. I wasn't sort of sent there, should we say. And struggled. There was examples at school where it bust, and then I just got absolutely hammered with, showered with abuse, thinking, like, what's that? And people looking. And also, and that sort of, some days where I just used to like literally just rip off the bag, sit in the bath, and just think, right, what am I going to do in my life? As horrible as it sounds, and that was speaking of some bad examples of what I've done in the past. But because I think, especially at a young age like that, as the young boy he was, it's about them understanding, yeah, there's going to be dark days. Unfortunately, that's life. It is. No matter if you're 100% healthy, you're going to might break a finger, you might do whatever. Something bad is going to happen at some point in your life, and it's about having the support network there, or knowing where to go in those situations. And it's like, and it's very similar that with, and it's about being put in the right direction. One of the things that sort of keeps me balanced is cognitive behaviour therapy, which sort of, it keeps, I'm struggling at the moment, don't get me wrong, I'm not having sort of bad days, more being stuck at home, not being able to do things what I normally do, etc. But I know it's going to be there when I want it, and it's available on the phone. So it's about them knowing how, right, here's your bag, being shown how to use the bag and all the things in place associated with it, and say, right, here's a list of support. Because I know when I had my bag 3-4 years ago, I got all the stoma nurses couldn't be more helpful, really supportive, showed me how to handle a bag, things like that. But there wasn't anything in there to sort of say, right, here's some charities, some support networks, etc., what you can go to. Feel free, they're available, really nice people, etc., which I think will go a long way in helping the younger generation, because I think as a younger person you sort of feel alone, because you haven't got as much life experience. You don't sort of have responsibility, so it's a big responsibility having a bag. It's a lot of things to manage it, depending on how bad your symptoms are, tablets, things like that, where you've got to be able to understand the best way to function and what you have to do in regards to plan B if they don't fall or happen as they should.
Tom, I know you know Ian Daniels.
Yeah.
We talked to him last week fabulously. He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But what he was saying was that there are now younger and younger people having to have this kind of surgery, whereas typically it was the older generation that were associated with this type. And he wasn't quite sure what the reasons for that were. He couldn't give any information. It's all kind of research based at the minute. But do you think that because it's more and more people are younger, that you need to have a different kind of support?
Yeah, very much so. I think because like how I see support working and is efficient for myself, we're all different people. We all like different things, and that's so. And especially the younger person, how I get support isn't necessarily going to work to them. It's about being able to open doors and sort of spell things out in a more simpler way. Especially, let's just say the 9 or 10 is a completely different level of thinking in regards to support, what's needed, breaking it down to them, things like that.
I think what you've hit, Tom, because though I was 45 when I had surgery, it was my third major surgery, and I wasn't sure what would happen. And the first year on it, from looking at changing diet, looking at medications, and I still today have toilet mapping wherever I go. But I support groups. I was pointed out. I was the youngest there, so at 8 or 9 or 10 years of age, so difficult. role models to explain why you need to have.
Sarah, it's just that we're having a bit of difficulty understanding what you're saying. Your speech is kind of cutting in and out a little bit. So were you sort of trying to say that at the age of 45, despite the fact that you were older, you were actually the youngest person in the support group?
Yes.
Okay.
I can agree with that, because I've been asked to go to support groups by the stoma nurse, and I've been the youngest person in the room every time. There's no young children there, and I know there's children who have it through being colostomy because they've been mascots and things like that. So it's a difficult thing where I think it just needs a bit of rethinking in regards to how it gets out there, really. Whether it's posters in hospitals, so then it's just more visible, because you don't know it's there until it's either put in front of you or you're out there looking for it. So you've got to approach it either. There's no in between. You have to sort of go down those channels, unfortunately.
Tom, I know Sarah's had to change her diet and look at different ways, perhaps, of minimising symptoms, and she's just become a fitness guru. And I was just wondering how important it is for sort of fitness and diet is for yourself. Have you made massive modifications? And obviously, with the fitness side of it, physically and mentally, I'm assuming has some kind of positive impact. Is that what you encourage younger people to have as well?
Yeah, very much so. It's a terrible diet or eating the wrong. It's about, unfortunately, with stoma, it's about trial and error in some instances, where what is bad for somebody is fine for another person, and the other way around. So I avoid. Sounds terrible, but I avoid salads. It's just a nightmare for myself. Anything with sort of skin on, so like jacket potato, things like that, it's just adding additional risks to having a colostomy and a stoma. So unfortunately, you have to remove certain things from your diet, which how you want to see that, it is what it is, but I choose to remove it because I don't want to have that risk. But it's also being smart and asking questions. Like, I find the best way to manage my my diet is, especially in the summertime when it's really warm, is I've got to have a bit of planning, additional electrolytes. I have a bit of a juice, not a juice diet. I have a meal replacements, so it's less chewing. So I'm taking more out of my foods, more going into my system. About trying to really.
Hydration is really important, isn't it?
Massively, yeah. I think when you look at, I had an occasion at the doctor this week where I was due some more Diorolite, and they got a box of 10, and I can polish a box of 10 off in an hour. So I put 10 per. So you get, if you were to go to Asda now, you'd get 10. If you were to buy a box, you'd get 10, and I put 10 per litre of water. So, and like Sarah says, it's about having the knowledge to hand to get on top of your symptoms early. So if you know you're having a bad day, it's sort of showing signs. It's about, right, this is what I need, and this is what things like bananas, marshmallows, anything with sort of like gelatin sort of helps get on top of, helps you assist you, should we say, being politely.
What about physical fitness, Tom? Do you make sure you maintain a regime for that?
You knowing me, physical exercise is quite important to me. It's a way of me keeping myself balanced, and it's what I like to do. I've loved since I was a kid. Being part of teams, challenging myself, challenging others. So yeah, it's as long as there's no. I don't find, other than sort of having additional electrolytes available and being sensible with breakfast, like porridge, went before I play golf, sort of not eating before I train with the PDRL or things like that. Just about being sensible, really. Being just understanding what your body needs and when it needs it. And if you're just living a normal, like 24-hour life, just be sensible with what you're eating. Just be conscious of what's not good for you and what's not, and what is good for you.
I know, Tom, we've spoken in the past about you sometimes having to go into hospital for, things if you've had like a block or something. Have you had to do that over this pandemic lockdown at all?
Luckily, no. I had a bit of a bad night last night. Still not sort of over it at the minute. But it's one of those things, unfortunately. It's the negatives of having a colostomy bag you can have these days, and as long as you get on top of the symptoms early doors, you're giving yourself your best chance of not going in.
Are you more concerned because of the coronavirus? Would it worry you more if you had to go in?
Definitely, yeah. Being completely honest, it would, yeah. It's just one of those things where I know I've been around the norovirus twice, and I've not through any fault of my own, just sort of not knowing, and I've been in hospital twice. And unfortunately, I'm 30, but I feel like I'm 40. And the first time I got it, I was in there for 3 days. And the second time I was 4 or 5 years older, and it took me, and I was in there for nearly 2 weeks, just trying to get my body, because it just knocks the absolute 7 bells out of your body.
Wondering, Tom, obviously you've used sport as a great way of being an ambassador, keeping fit. You came presented with symptoms. Would you encourage them to get them checked out?
Very much so, yeah. Don't put things off. I did it. It's why I should have really, if I were taking professional advice, had my bag on a lot sooner than what I did. This one I've got now. I've got it for life. Long story short, the pouch didn't work from when I had it, and the reversal never worked. So I got chronic. Sorry, Sarah.
Was that the J pouch?
I'll be honest with you. I completely don't know. I just know it was a pouch which didn't work. So, and because of the negative issues I had with the bag before, I put it off until I was 27. So I did a good 9 years putting up a fight solely because of how I felt and understood the bag. I've developed PSC in that time, which is a chronic liver disease. So whether that was because I was putting it off, I don't know, but I just know my liver function levels were going up from the age of 16. So it's little things like where me putting it off so long, having the surgery at 27, added additional risks to the surgery. So there was I think it was something like 1 in 20 or 1 in 25 chance of dying out on the table because of my liver bleeding out, things like that. Being paralysed from the waist down because of where my pouch was. It was very close to my nerve branch. So little things like that where me putting up a fight for so long is not necessarily giving me the best chance to what I have now. And that's because, again, I didn't seek support, or nor was it put in front of me. So it's a cross I've got to bear, unfortunately. But this is why I sort of do what I do now, is because people need to be sensible. Just because something happened back then. And first thing I can tell you, the bags are a lot different back when I was a lot younger. I had accidents most days. Compared to now, they happen, but nowhere near as frequent as they did. So I'd say, right, if you have this, just go get it checked. Even if it does involve, they say, right, we need to take you for a camera. It's better knowing than ignoring the problem.
I think what I take away from today, Tom, is, well, I take my hat off to you, really, because I think you do an amazing job as an ambassador about mental health and dealing with a colostomy bag. It's something that I've thought about because I really have had some strange reactions, but I think I would not be afraid to talk about it more so that I help somebody else. And like you've said at the beginning, there's often worse off. And I found myself in February 15 having a and then suddenly December Christmas present was God, 2015's not going to be one to highlight. And I look back now, I work with cancer patients who think, actually, having that stoma put me in good because I was isolated for a long time. And then we've got COVID now, so I think I can be a champion of isolation. And it makes me say, if you don't get it checked out, you could be putting your life so long.
Exactly. Yeah. I think me doing that surgery when I did was pretty much. I was told to. I was told, right, you basically have the surgery or you're basically digging an early grave and you're giving yourself your best chance if you have this surgery. So it was, and I've got a family. I've got two children, a missus, and it's as much as I hated the bag the first time, I've still got, if that bag adds however long, you never know, however long to my life, it's however many years with my kids. So that's what spoke to me. That's what said, right, let's be sensible. This is what effectively you have to do to make your life better. So there was no guarantee it would help. Don't get me wrong, things aren't perfect, things aren't great, but I imagine they're a lot better than what they would have been if I continued being stubborn, being polite. So it's about people understanding, right, just having the sense, weighing up the scales, use facts, fact-based thinking, and say, right, here's what happens if you're silly, and here's what happens if you at least tick off the boxes. It might be nothing, but right, here's what your life will be better.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I just wanted to ask a quick question. I know you have kids, and we've maybe touched on this before, but do you worry that it might be something that they could have to deal with as well?
Very much so, yeah. It's unfortunately, I know it's something that can happen. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't run in my family, but there's also a genetic aspect to know from myself that they've got every chance. But I know, me living with experience, I'll be the first person to say, right, yeah, maybe I'm a completely honest person. I'll say, I'll call a spade, and I'll tell if I'm a girl or my boy, right, yeah, it's hard, but right, I'm here to support you. There's nothing I can or can't do, and if I can't do it, I'll find someone who will do it for you. And that's like where it's right. I can. And that's a good thing. If you were a parent and either if you have symptoms or things like that, it's about saying, right, let me go find something what will help my kids out. And that's where your likes of your support groups, team colostomy, things like that, where they'll just say, right, here's what, they can't give you a specific advice like HR or anything like that, but they can give you some general advice which sort of helps you, or at least put your toe on the right path.
Absolutely, yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to ask Sarah before we finish?
I think for me, the big link when I think of having to have a stoma. If you give one tip to other people about that, would you say sport is a really good way of forgetting it?
I think it's important to surround yourself with positive people, and sport, in my opinion, being a male, it's being in sport. It's a positive environment where you can, depending how you see it, worst case scenario, it's 90 minutes or however long away from where you're not discussing or you're not around your home where you associate your bag problem. It's 90 minutes where, right, I can either focus on something else that distracts me, or right, this is, you know what, I love being around these people. So it has, no matter how bad you see it, it's either a temporary distraction or it's a great support environment.
I think I hear that, Tom, because having gone through the stoma surgery and then going through cancer, I finished treatment in last year and still have to make surgery with hysterectomy and hernia repairs, which God knows when that's going to be, what with COVID. I spent time going through rehab into being able to walk again and use my arm. Had really bad side effects of treatment, but that's not everybody. So I think what drives me now is I need to do work more efficiently, and that just is everything that you've put in a nutshell. Look at your diet, look at what positives you've got. You don't dwell on the negatives, and you work with what abilities you've got rather than disabilities. So I'm just really inspired and really honoured that you've, shared openly your experiences today.
Yeah, me too. Thank you very much for joining us. As usual, you're brilliant and inspirational person, and I'm sure everybody out there is watching that thinking exactly the same thing as us as well.
Thank you.
But
thank you.
Yeah. Have a good day. Enjoy those biscuits.
Thank you. Bye.